assessment, the grey boxing. And it just basically goes over, in as brief a context as I can, the 8 things he's looking for: framing, zigzagging, backtracking, contrasting spaces, height variation, weenies or landmarks, affordances and denying affordances, and breaking from the grid. Don't worry, if you've got questions, you feel free to ask them as I'm going along, but I'm just going to ramble and rant this bullshit out so that hopefully you learn everything you need. Anything outside of these, you don't need to demonstrate at all. If your level looks pretty, it doesn't matter. If you've got sounds in, fantastic, it doesn't matter. That's not what you're being scored on. You're being scored on whether or not you can incorporate these level design principles into your level. So framing, Stuart described as being like creating a photo, a picturesque scene. So when you see like a lighthouse on the top of a cliff from a distance, that's framed. It's a landmark that you're looking at from a distance. And let's just say you're walking down a dirt road flanked by trees and a canopy, and that canopy opens out and you see that lighthouse or a giant windmill or something. That has been framed by the canopy. That's what he's looking for, just giving the player something to grip onto visually that is memorable for your level, and doing so by like creating a makeshift frame around it with a 3D scene. Zigzagging is exactly as it sounds. Things just zigzag; they go backwards and forwards rather than having a long hallway down a school in a school. Have the player instead move through the classrooms backwards and forwards, left to right, instead of going all the way down this long hallway, because it breaks up the hallway, makes it feel more interesting, and you're utilizing things in the scene more often. So all the props and all the assets that you've been given by other members of the team, they are getting seen more often and as such are more efficiently used. It also means that you can make the level longer even though you haven't actually created a larger environment. Backtracking is when you backtrack. Essentially, you go backwards through anything that you've already been through, re-seeing everything. A lot of the time, games will do this by doing drop-down ledges and things, forcing you to go back on yourself. Stuart used Half-Life's bridge scene as an example, where you go up the bridge, collect a rocket launcher or press a button or some shit, and then go back down the exact same bridge in the opposite direction while fighting a helicopter.
If you ever played Dark Souls, that's got a lot of backtracking in. It's got
Dark Souls
shortcuts and stuff.
Yeah, Dark Souls got an insane amount of backtracking and looping.
It's worth playing if you want to have a good look at the level design.
The world design in Dark Souls is second to none. I fucking love that game.
Definitely.
Yeah, backtracking is exactly as it sounds, just forcing your player to go back through what they've already been through. But generally, you want to try and change things up slightly. So, for instance, using the school hallway, if on the way back the hallway was blocked by desks and chairs and things on the way through, so you had to zigzag through the classrooms. If they have to come back on themselves, the hallway that is blocked by these chairs and tables and things, maybe on the other side you could have a table that's set up almost like a ramp so the player can just walk up and over it. So backtracking is quicker and done slightly different because it makes it slightly more entertaining. That's the kind of thing that Lee's looking for there. Contrasting sizes and spaces are going from tight and narrow areas to large and sprawling areas. So if you come out of a really tight cave like in Tomb Raider where you're crawling through on your belly and suddenly you're on a mountainside looking down on a giant valley that is miles down, that's the difference. Like, you've gone from an incredibly cramped space to a massive wide space. Again, Stuart used Half-Life to explain this, with the small hallways that open up into a giant city. Height variation is, as it sounds, just use staircases and ramps. Any height variation at all is going to break up the floor, make the level feel more natural and more interesting than just flat ground. So the more often you can add this, the better. Weenies and landmarks, something that Stuart dedicated an entire session on, talking about Disney and how he had a central hub in the palace was the central hub that people always wanted to go to, and then it'd veer off in Disneyland to go and see like Space Mountain and the others. A lot of games use landmarks like Last of Us and Division both use the Monument Bridge in the distance to allow players to have a sense of space, a sense of knowing where you are and aiding in navigation, giving a player a destination that they need to get to. So that's what weenies and landmarks are for. Other games have used like giant fountains, or like Resident Evil, the first game is indoors, so it used the courtyard, the first room you go into with the double staircase that curls up towards the giant balcony. That was used as a central hub to go that you would always return to and progress from. Every time you finished a puzzle, you'd return back to that staircase room, save, and then figure out where you had to go from there. So Stuart's wanting to see some use of landmarking and weenies for that. Affordances and denying affordances is something that I've only just learnt the terminology for, but it's essentially if you see a ladder, you expect to be able to climb that ladder. If you're not able to climb that ladder, make it obvious that you can't climb the ladder by having the ladder be broken or hanging loose or have things in the way so you can't get to it. That's an affordance and denying affordance. Other examples that Stuart gave was like a fire exit. If you see a fire exit, you know it's a fire exit because it's got the horizontal bar on the door. And you know that you instinctively put both hands on the bar and push to open the door. Whereas if you see a door that's got one of those vertical, like almost smoothed off handles, you instinctively go to grab it and pull. That's an affordance. You just understand that that's the way it is in real life. So if it's in a game, you expect it to react in the same way. If you're going to stop it reacting in that way, you should make it more obvious so the player doesn't expect it. And point 8 is breaking from the grid. The grid is, as everyone knows, 90-degree corners. Everything set in squares. If you break from that in any way, shape, or form, you are breaking from the grid. That includes using 45-degree corners to essentially create a 90-degree corner. If you use two 45s, it equals 90. That's just common sense. So if you've got a route that goes from point A to point B and there's a 90-degree corner in the middle, instead of doing that, just do two 45-degree corners, and rather than putting the corner in the middle of the hallway or road or whatever, make it so that they're a third of it. Then you've got a 45-degree corner, then another third, another 45-degree corner. So you essentially cut that corner off, and now you've broken from the grid. That's all he's expecting when it comes to that. You don't need to do like really bizarre, like 20-degree corners that then lead into circular rooms with like a spiral staircase leading up to a tower and all this kind of crap. You just need to break from the initial 90-degree grid. So yeah, that's the 8 things that Stuart's wanting. Feel free to ask questions, but I'm going to bring up the level that I've built and show you how small your level can be while still maintaining what he's asking.
I know I should probably know this, but do you know whether we're expected to show planning, like any sketches that we made of the level before we built it and stuff?
The first one, the grey box, no. As far as I'm aware, we don't have to do that because it's all going to be done as a video of us playing through a grey box level and talking about it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to jump straight in to my level.
It looks like Stuart's with the sewer.
So my level is going to be starting at this point. It's essentially going to have some kind of sewer grating or something there with like a makeshift door that you come through. At the beginning of the level, you'll start coming through that gate. There'll be a sound of the gate closing. So the first part is just straight up, straight, narrow path. You can't get up the other side at all, so you have to use this staircase. The staircase is narrow and like cramped in intentionally, so that when you come up, you immediately see that building over there. That building over there is just the main weenie, the landmark. That's the thing you're supposed to get to. So as you're coming up the staircase, you can see it's already framed by the adjacent buildings, and I've got narrow to wide contrast. The road is going to be blocked, so you're not going to be able to get through there. That lot over there is currently not blocked, but it will be. There's a building here that you're supposed to go through, but there will be a door here that you can't get through. the reason you can't get through, the power grid is off and it's an automatic door. So the only option you've got to do is go in this direction. You go in this direction and all of this is blocked off again. So you're forced to go down an alleyway. This alleyway is going to zigzag between some gardens, between these buildings. It's going to go in between and bounce back and forwards to allow for zigzagging. I haven't done that yet because this is just a test to get the scaling right. When you finally come out, you'll come out and again, that building will be there. It is a weenie. It is landmarked. It tells you what your main goal is. This is, by the way, it's also going to be at night time, so you're going to be guided by street lamp to follow the path. When you get here, a couple of pieces of wood to show that you are supposed to cross here. That's an affordance. Everyone knows that when you see wood, you're guided across. You come into this little building, and down here, there's going to be a switch to turn on the power grid. This door, to make sure that the player can go through this door, it's going to be barred from the other side. So if the player drops down from the bridge and just tries to get in here, they won't be able. You have to come out the other way. So you flick the switch, come over here, and the second this door opens, you'll be able to see all the power and lights of this building are on, and you can still see your main weenie. Because the power is now on, the lights will light up, people will go, okay, so that's the building we're going to go to. They come back, and this is where the backtracking comes. I've looped, we've already been here, and you're right back at the beginning. This building inside is going to change. You're going to be going upstairs and coming out of a window and stuff. But effectively, this is another narrow space that opens out into a massive wide opening. Step across the road, and end of level. It's that simple, it's that small, it's not complex. So
It looks good.
I know that probably makes some people feel like I'm leaving a gap of opening for an applause or for questions or comments or compliments or some shit, but it's not. This is the time to throw questions at me. Is there anything about the 8 examples I've just given you that you don't understand?
No, yeah, I think I'm good for most of them. The only one that I haven't really done is break away from the grid. Like, I do kind of need to change the layout of mine a little bit, but you seem to have done that quite well with just like that staircase that goes up halfway and then turns 45 degrees and shit like that.
Okay, there's an unnerving amount of silence here. I know that at least one of you is now currently sat thinking, what the fuck is going on? How am I supposed to do this? And it's important for that person to speak up.
I'll speak up. I understand it all, except you shot my confidence right in the foot.
I'm just happy that the levels can be so small, but at the same time have so much stuff in it. I'm glad about that.
I'm doing an inside space, so I'm feeling a bit like, how am I going to put this? Like, I understand how it's done with an outdoor space, but I'm a bit worried about doing mine with an indoor space.
Indoor spaces.
In the sense of weenies and stuff, you think?
Yeah, like everything I'm doing. So basically, the game starts with you being dropped down an elevator shaft, and then the elevator stops working. You're dropped into like a pool of blood. And then you come out and there's like blood dragging marks to drag you to show you where you're supposed to go, but it's a cave system, so I can obviously do like zigzagging and breaking away from like 90-degree angles because it's a cave. Those are fine. Maybe I could do a small tunnel opening into a bigger one. That's the small to big spaces, but aside from that, I don't really know how to do the other ones.
Okay, so I'm going to do a terrible job of demonstrating how bad my art is. By just giving you hopefully a couple of ideas. So you said you're using caves. Caves are by nature just not flat. So height variation is incredibly easy. You could have your main room here with an exit coming out the side. And that exit, rather than just being a flat cave hallway, you have it instead do a gradient going up. And if the player is expected to come back to this point multiple times, like a central hub, rather than having it just a flat, straight corridor that you go in both directions, you have it come up and around. So when the player goes up, they come up and out here, and they drop down. That is height variation, and it's a backtrack loop. So rather than walking straight forwards and straight backwards, the whole thing will curve around and gradually get higher and higher. Cave networks are something I'm relatively comfortable with because I made a cave map for Natural Selection 2 a while back. So if you need any specifically one-to-one help or looking over your level and like advice, etc., I'm more than happy to do that. I'm more than happy to do that for anyone here. Just make use of the fact that I did know a lot of this before I came to university. Finally, it's my time to shine, so don't feel like your confidence should be shaken. Like, I understand that not everyone here has got the same level of experience or time put into it as I have, but I guarantee you shit on me on every other aspect of this course. So imagine how I felt last year with 2D art and modeling and stuff, and people just like, oh, some of your work was beautiful. That goes for everyone, by the way. Like, I felt massively overshadowed by everyone on this course last year. So yeah. Any other questions? Because I'm pretty sure that everyone's got them.
No, I think that's good. Well, that's just me anyway. Anyone else can speak up.
Like, how would you start making a level? Like, when you like, I'm always the worst when it's like a blank piece of paper. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
So when I started making the level that I have now, I'll show you the quote unquote artwork that I've got for it. Where is it? It's not in that one. Nope. I can't remember where it's stored. There it is. Okay, so this is the drawing that I've got. It's completely different in multiple ways to what I ended up having. But essentially, all I started with was me drawing the canal, because that's the only thing I had in mind that I wanted. I was like, okay, so I want a canal to break from the grid and go around the city. Essentially, I knew that I wanted it to be a city. I knew that I wanted it to feature a canal because that offers me the best way of doing height variant, because you need a bridge, or preferably two. And that was the starting point for me. And then that literally just this terrible artwork is how I do all of my level layouts. And I was like, okay, so where's my starting point going to be? And my end point was going to be here. But obviously, you don't want it to be just a straight path because that's fucking boring. You want it to zigzag away from where you're supposed to be, and you gradually get an idea, a feel for the world you're trying to make, or the level that you're trying to make. Because while I'm drawing this, just as this is the route I want to take, it wasn't as quick as just drawing, okay, this is the route I'm going to take. I'm going to go around behind buildings and down and around and then back up through the building, and ta-da, that's the level. It was me sat like drawing crappy squares, going, okay, there needs to be a building here and a building here, and how am I going to navigate around them? I need like alleyways and so on. My original idea was to have an arena on the right hand side, which is here, which is going to be this like a big visual eye catcher to make sure that the player knew they had to get to the other side of the canal. But the only way up was to go away from the building to start with. And that just kind of progressed step by step over probably about 4 hours to draw this sack of crap. So don't feel like you need to know all of your level immediately. Just know the theme, the idea that you've got, the concept of the level first, and then for me the level builds itself over time. I think I've got a little bit of an advantage here because I've been doing D&D for like 25 years as a dungeon master. So I'm used to drawing dungeon maps and that kind of crap.
Nice, thanks.
Is it possible to start building your level in? It's Unreal that we're using, isn't it? And then change stuff around quite easily, or do you kind of have to have the layout in your mind already when you start building it?
You can change things in Unreal with relative ease. It's just built. It is literally building with Lego blocks, but you can customize those Lego blocks. I was gonna give like a little bit of time for quote unquote questions, but I'll jump into basic grey boxing the way I did it. Now I'm selecting the wrong thing. I wondered why that was. I was scaling the skybox. Okay, so you start out by going to geometry. There are some asset packs that allow you to have snap together, like super grid, grey box performance crap. Don't use them. They're not worth it. They take far too long to find what you're looking for, and you're going to end up replacing the stuff anyway. So it's not quicker unless it provides perfectly for the kind of thing you're trying to build. But it's I think Stuart gave us a couple of videos on BSP geometry, and I didn't particularly find them that helpful, except for one thing, which was creating this, but hollow. That hollow checkbox there that gives you the inside. Now, I don't know what version of Unreal other people are using, but for me, when I was watching Stuart's videos, he's got a whole mess of crap up here that I don't have.
Yeah,
that was
same.
vital to how to use it, and it's the mode section here. They're all here. Now, I found out that it's just shift 1 through 5, and he's using brush editing. Now, with brush editing, all your keybinds are pretty much the same as Maya, except you're not holding Alt to move around. It's hold right click and WASD to move around. But when you're selecting face,
when you're holding right click to move around, you can press Q and E to go up and down as well.
Yeah. I honestly don't use them, but I probably should. But when you're selecting faces on this geometry, a lot of people have issues that I'm sure I will encounter at some point during this demonstration. That essentially you'll click on a face and it won't select for some reason. And you've effectively got to find the right angle that eventually Unreal will understand that you're trying to select that face. But these boxes can be adjusted in any way, shape, or form that you want. I think someone was saying in the most recent class that they couldn't extrude for some reason.
Yeah, that was Jake, I think. Yeah, his extrude button wasn't working for us, so he's just got like loads of boxes and stuff.
Yeah, and he's filled out the area with too many boxes. But here's the thing: I'm almost positive that the reason that's happening is because he's unfamiliar with the tool. So, like for instance, you can select edges and verts in this by just clicking and finding them. I'm just going to split that in half and then grab this face here and extrude it. You click extrude and it'll come up with this prompt. It doesn't matter. Basically, what you're saying is, in order for extrude that to work, it's going to change the move tool so that it's moving in relation to this surface. And now, anytime you, with this selected, anytime you move something, it won't move, it will extrude every time. The problem is, as you just seen, it does not extrude the inside. So that's worth keeping in mind when you're building. You can extrude here inwards because it's the wrong size. It's going to collide with the geometry.
Can you just delete the face?
You can, but that means then you've got to build inside. Which the whole point is, if you're using a Holo model, a Holo BSP blueprint, the idea is that you'd want to be selecting multiple edges. So if you're going to be moving something like this, be sure to select both by holding Control, I think it is. Yeah, Control, and extruding together, and it doesn't work. Great. Fantastic. Good example right here of how BSP is bullshit. But yeah, so with Holo models, extruding becomes kind of annoying. This is why I don't use Holo model. I'll show you the what I do now. So rather than fucking around doing that crap that people think is fantastic. All I'd do. Amen. Amen.
How are you switching between the scale and the move tools? Is it just,
Key bindings. It's exactly the same key bindings as Maya. It's W for move, E
W,
for rotate, R for scale.
Great, thank you.
So yeah, sorry for not explaining that sooner.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to make sure that it was the same.
The way I'd do this is if you're wanting to like build a grey box building, it's not going to look fantastic, but it does the job. Delete that. And you want it to be hollow, I would essentially just copy, paste, and scale it down a little, and then turn that one into subtractive. So what that does is it creates an inside box. If you move it around, you'll see that it essentially creates holes in whatever it is that you're trying to do. Rather than filling the space with geometry, it removes geometry from that space.
That's so helpful.
That is how I build everything.
It's how you
Hollow
make
boxes.
doors.
Yeah, it's how you make doors. It's how you make everything. On my level, I'll switch back to my level in a second to show you. I've got internal parts of buildings that are made up of multiple boxes. Just subtractive boxes are so much easier than anything I can ever describe. A good example of use that I discovered semi-recently was creating indented staircases. Indented staircases are a nightmare to build because how are you supposed to just attach that to that and then build boxes around it to make it fill in? That took me ages. On my first iteration of the city, it took me about 4 hours to build a staircase that was indented in. And then I figured out all I needed to do was flip it upside down and then turn it to subtractive, and it will cut it out.
Well, that's a nice trick. Good to know.
That is a nice trick I've been asking about with that exact method.
Yeah, that annoyed me so much when I figured that out because it was such a waste of time to not know it. So there are shortcuts to do this kind of crap.
Is there a way to like drag and select multiple things?
If you hold, is it Shift, Control, Alt, one of the two. Hang on, I've got something selected. I shouldn't have. No. There is a way. I'm just trying to remember how now. Because I did it recently. There you go. Control Alt. So if you hold Control and Alt, you can drag a box and select multiple objects.
Gosh, yeah, I can't find that, so I tried to move my entire house and to individually select every box.
Yeah, you just need to be careful when doing that because if you select like the ground or the skybox, it will delete or move that as well.
Can you do it with the world outliner as well, where you shift select all of them?
Do you mean when you shift and then shift hold shift
top,
to select?
You know, the world outliner, the top right thingy where you've got like the labels for everything. Yeah.
Then you can multi-select.
That's good.
If you hold shift, it'll drag in a full line, so it'll select everything between point A and point B. Whereas if you hold control, it will select individual.
Nice to know.
But what I've just shown you is pretty much the extent of my knowledge of how to use Unreal.
Is that the same for objects in the world, like how you use control to select one thing or shift to select multiple? Is that right?
When you're selecting in the world, I generally hold control and just click to select them.
Okay.
If you hold shift, I think it does the same. I don't think it's like anything in between a point A and point B.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not.
Okay.
So if you hold control, that's how I can select multiple objects. Yeah, I'll quickly open up my other level and show you that this is the indentation blocks here. So that staircase is just a staircase built into a block. The block is multiple blocks. Oh, this is something you probably want to know beforehand. When building like this, if you build an additive block after you've already put the subtractive block in place, it will not subtract from that new additive block. So what you need to do is select the subtractive block and move it for it to do it, because it's not updated. So basically, if you throw down a cube and then another cube and make that subtractive and take a chunk out of that one, I don't know if this is going to work now, but then when you drag in a new cube, you can see it doesn't subtract. It should, but it doesn't. So all you need to do is it's not work. That's entirely possible. Can I drag and move it? No. This is useful for me to know. No. What I did, because I realized that this was an issue, was I just copied, pasted. Because it's what I had to do over here, because you can see that that I have multiple blocks surrounding it. And the reason for that is because I didn't know how to do this. This was me discovering how to do this as I was playing. Like, Unreal's got a lot of really nice things, but they're not very clear to start with. But all of this is subtractive geometry. That's why it doesn't look particularly good. But again, it's a grey box. It doesn't need to look particularly good. It just needs to look functional, give you a sense of size and scale. So you can put all of these techniques into a small level and be efficient with it. It's not as difficult as it sounds. Once you start getting to grips with it and trying, it'll make a lot more sense. Initially, because there's so much information dumped straight on top of you, it can be daunting. But I'm more than happy to help anyone work on their levels whenever. Like, if I'm online, I'm more than likely free, so I can come give you advice. I can come take a look at your level and give feedback. I can try and help you out with any issues that you're having with Unreal, etc. Just don't come to me about blueprints, because I don't know blueprints yet, and I'm going to be grabbing Joel Sandwich at some point to get him to show me what the hell I'm supposed to be doing when it comes.
Are blueprints for attaching items, textures and stuff? Is
Blueprint,
that what it is?
Blueprints.
I think it's just a
scripting.
schematic of set objects that you can
So
put together.
I'm opening it now to show you. It's essentially a node system that is C# in visual form.
Oh, that's...
Oh Christ! Ignore what I said.
How do I move things? I've forgotten. Hello. Who are you? Yeah, there we go. So yeah, essentially this is your void boxes. Essentially void start and void update.
Mm-hmm.
That's what these are. So it's just a visual coding system. It's visual scripting.
Wow, that's interesting.
It's like Scratch.
Yeah, you go. It is through input, right? Input and then key. Am I wrong here, Seb? You type input to find them, or do you just type E?
I had to type input and then just search for it, scroll. Because it's really finicky, it doesn't find it that way. You'll come to a really long list of just inputs. There you go.
There you go.
I also realised it wasn't recording my voice for any of this.
Oh, nice. Brilliant. Yeah, so this is just visual scripting. It's visual code. It's far more comfortable for me to look at than actual code, but I don't know it yet, so I can't give advice or anything on that yet. But
that'll be for making functionality in the level, I suppose.
essentially that's the next thing that I've got to do, because obviously I need automatic doors that won't work until the power's switched on. I've got to have lots of lights that are going to be set as off to start with, but then turn on with the power turn on, that kind of thing.
Does it use if statements and stuff then? Is that
it doesn't, but you technically an if statement is a branch, so it branches between two options. Bring that back up, and I think if I look for a branch, there you go. There's your branch. So
true
this
or
is your
false?
if true and if false.
Yeah.
And your condition is attached to this. So this is your
way
whole
to just do it in C#.
I think this looks quicker to do though.
This is quicker and this is easier once you learn it, but obviously not everyone is going to want to learn it outright. One thing I will say, something that Stuart showed us, which is really, really useful, is if you want to reference an object, like if I wanted this this specific light here to be turned on or off or something, if you select it, then go into your blueprint and right click right at the top, it will automatically give you whatever you've got selected, its references for that. So call reference for the spotlight 26 right there. So now anything I attach to this is going to be regarding that spotlight.
Yeah, it'll obviously be good as well once Leonard is in to explain further. But I assume that you might just add all of the things that you want to do something with and then connect them up.
Yeah,
something like that.
And so, like, I know that I've seen a flashlight script in the node system, and it was literally just the key input and a light source, and it was if you press it, then turn it on. If it's pressed again, turn it off. And it was like 4 nodes connected together, and it was that's it. The flashlight works. It just works. And so in the end, it is much more simplistic and much easier to deal with, much easier to understand. But it's just getting your head around the system that's the difficult part.
How did you add water, by the way, just out of curiosity?
That is a mod, an asset from one of the many mod packs. But it is just a single pane of geometry with a shader on top.
Yeah, if you got the starter assets in the materials, there's a water material. You can just put it on a box and put it somewhere.
I love this water because once it's placed, it's got a flow map, which is why it's got the white around the edges. So it understands what it's connecting with, what it's colliding with, and it makes it look as if it is actually colliding with it.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that. But yeah, I've got too many mod packs. I'm going to close this for a second just so I can show you all just how many mod packs I've got, because I've been storing this crap for a long time. I thought we were going to be using Unreal regardless, Uni, not Unity at all. So when I found out I was coming to Uni in the February of 2019, I started storing this shit up. So I've got a few mod packs here, and just so you're aware, because Seb doesn't have all this lot and wanted all of this lot, I downloaded every single one of them. And they're all in that one thing. Every single one of them is there. And you can see here, it's just over 500 gig. And eventually he will give me the hard drive for me to pass him this stuff over. But it just means that when I do finally get around to detailing this city environment, I've got like the Mega Scans library stuff relating to cities and so on here.
Modular fantasy house.
I know, right?
Yes, please.
How big is your hard drive even?
2 terabytes.
Okay, I only got 500. So 500 SSD.
My hard drives, I've got 3, and that is the current state.
Is it an SSD?
That's my game drive. This 500 gig here is an SSD. That's what Unreal is installed on. It's what my games are installed on. This is my OS drive. and as you can see, it's hurting at the moment because it's only 120 gig. And I've got my 2 terabyte here, which is where I've got everything else stored, all my Maya models, all my Unity stuff, all my Unreal projects, and the vault of just mass amounts of unnecessary mods and assets that I got for Seb that I got about a month and a half ago at this point.
Have you installed all of? Did you need to like click add them to project then?
Yep,
to,
you
like,
need to click
install
add to project, and then it'll come up with a window like that, and you click
Ah.
on the project and you hit add. I don't
Right.
need to add it because it already exists in that project, but I did that for every single one.
Damn.
Yeah, I downloaded Horror Engine because a few people were using Horror Engine in their examples, and by the look of it, it comes with a lot of pre-built blueprints and functionality that you can just drag and drop into the level. So I was going to take a look to see if it saved me time. And then I've got the Megascan's abandoned apartment that was built. There's a YouTube video of the guy building it. It's absolutely beautiful, but that was kind of the visual. In fact, I'm going to open it because I've not opened this yet. So I just want to have a quick look at it. But it's what gave me the inspiration for doing this as a city scene, like an apocalyptic city scene.
I've picked up a load of these asset packs that are like pre-built stuff, and they've been free. Are you allowed to just deconstruct them and use their assets for your work? Yeah. That's cool. That's very cool. There was like a game last month where all of its stuff was free, or is it this month?
There's free games every month, and a lot of the stuff that comes with the games will be put up for free on the Unreal Marketplace as well.
There was like it was sort of medieval looking assets. Seemed kind of cool.
Every month you'll get like 5 or 6 different asset packs of some kind put up free for the month. If you claim it within that month, you get it free for the rest of your life. So I've just been building them up for the past 2 years.
Yeah. That was
they did
what I was thinking of. Yeah.
They did. I've already claimed those. Oh my god, this is okay.
That's a lot of. What are they, lights?
Leakage thing. What the hell? I don't know what this is.
You look a bit like decals, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do look like leakage decals. Yeah, I saw the guy building this. I really wish I could hide. Hang on. There we go. So just so you know what I did just then, I pressed G and it turns it into game mode. So game mode will turn off all of your entities and things. So you can take a look at your scene. But this is fucking beautiful. And when I saw this, I was just like, yeah, I want to make something that looks like this. I'm not going to. I'm not going to get even close to this.
Good luck.
Yeah. Like, this is one scene that is already exceeding my texture pool budget. It's like, it's extreme, is what this is. But I've got all the assets in this now, so I can use it if I want to.
I think I've got this one as well. I think it was last month, wasn't it, that this was up?
No, this is one of the Epic's free forever things.
Oh, just on the free forevers. Yeah, I saw. Yeah. I know I've got this one, but I hadn't actually had a look at it yet. That's super cool though.
Are there any questions? Does anyone need help? And I'm going to say the same thing to you guys that I've said to everyone for my entire life. You've been told your whole life that there's no such thing as a stupid question. Bollocks. Yes, there is. But I would rather be asked a stupid question and give an obvious answer than not be asked and you make a stupid mistake. So ask. If you need help and you don't feel comfortable speaking up now, do it in private messages after this is all shut down so that you don't get your pings popping up and so on. I am here to help. I am here to offer what little wisdom I have to anyone that wants it or needs it.
My face when Jamie's actually a better teacher than half the lecturers.
I'm definitely gonna come to you to have a look through my level later probably in a week or so when it's done, if that's okay.
That's more than okay. Do it. I'm happy to do it. I'm always curious to see what other people are doing. I'm always happy to offer advice or feedback or critique if I'm able to.
I'm wondering because. Go ahead.
I might send you my level, Kash.
Yeah, sounds good.
I'm wondering because we gotta like submit this level, right? We have to submit an executable. How strong is his PC? Like, do we need to worry at all?
No, you don't need to worry. Anything that we can build, specifically what we can build with the assets that we've got, anything that can be run by us or via the VMware on the computers in school, they can all be done on his PC. His PC is fine.
Yeah, we only need to show him like the video.
For the grey box assignment, you only need the video. So if it can go up onto YouTube, he can run it. For the second assessment, then you've got to make an executable, and they've got access to PCs that exceed my hardware. So my hardware is not a joke. I've got a RTX 2070, Ryzen 5 2600X. Yeah, their PCs are still better than mine. They'll have no problem running what we make.